my bro Tundrum here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you some of these insane spoilers from Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. Now this set is absolutely insane. I'm so hyped for it. All these new cards are just busted. Some have already been banned from Commander and other formats before they've even been seen any play, and now we all know that Wizards officially has an obsession over Godzilla, as we can see by all the Godzilla cards they're printing, although I do think it is a special edition, and very unfortunate timing on this Godzilla's name. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the new spoilers. First up, we've got the card I am by far the most hyped about, which is General Carew of Drannith. Now, this card I'm so hyped for because it's going to be insane in Modern Humans. It's going to make the deck top tier again. It's 3 mana, 1 white and a black, for a 3/3 legendary creature human soldier. And it says other humans you control get 1/1. This alone would already be a good card. But then it also says whenever it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, you get an exile target card from an opponent's graveyard, which is really solid. This is great graveyard hate straight away. And in formats, like I said, like Modern, this is just really good because 90% of decks have at least something that helps them with the graveyard, whether it be a flashback card or something like a Goyf. And he also has the upside, for 2 mana, and sacrifice 2 humans, you get a destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. This can really help with any shenanigan decks that summon in massive creatures, can stop things like Eden Recalls, things like Bedlam Revelers. This is just a really insane card. Next up, we have Fiend Artisan. This is a double hybrid green-black mana, 1/1 creature nightmare. I reckon this card's going to see heaps of play in Modern and even Legacy. It gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and you can pay X, a hybrid green-black mana, tap it, and sack another creature to search your library for a creature card with CMC X or less, and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. This is insane. It can get really big. It's really insane, I'd say, in a rock deck. It gets really big. It can sack stuff and search your library for combo pieces, any creatures you need. For example, if you have lots of money, you can pay X equals 6, sack your 1-drop mana dork, and then suddenly get a game-winning bomb. This card is so busted. I am so hyped for this. I reckon this card's going to see play everywhere. It might even be banned from a few formats. Coming up next, we have Luminous Broodmother. This is a 3 mana 3/4 flying insect, and I reckon this card has so much combo potential. It says whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. This alone is already insane. A 3 mana 3/4 flying is a good body, plus the fact that it makes all your creatures have a second life, and the second life when they come back they're flying. This is just busted. But I reckon if you get one of those cards that say all creatures lose flying, or one of those cards that say creatures your opponents control lose flying and your opponent might have it, all of a sudden, this, with that in a sack outlet, you suddenly have infinite ETBs and deaths and infinite life creatures. Super insane card. Coming up next, we have Snapdax, Apex of the Hunt. It's a 4 mana 3/5 legendary creature dinosaur catch nightmare with double strike. And then it has this ability called Mutate. So 5 mana, and you can cast its spell for its mutate cost, and then what you do is you either put it under a creature, so then the creature you put it under, so the creature you just, not this one, but the creature you put it under, now still has the original power and toughness and gains all the creature below it abilities, or you can put it on top of a creature, and then it gains the creature on top, still has its power and toughness and all its abilities, but then it gains the abilities from the creature on the bottom. I believe that's how it works. So this can become super solid. It can give your guys double strike, and then when it mutates, it gets to hit something for 4, and you gain 4 life. Solid card, really good threat, really big bomb. I reckon it will see a bit of play. Next up, we have Titan of Rex. It's an 8 mana 8/8 with Trample, and it has Cycling. We're seeing the return of Cycling in the set for 3 mana, and you get to discard it to draw a card. And when you cycle it, there's also this new mechanic. You get to put a Trample counter on target creature you control, which is like a counter that just, I think it's just a counter you put on something and it permanently gains the type of ability the counter has on it. So this kind of gets away around things like cards that give things abilities until end of turn. And then we have Void Beckoner. It's an 8 mana 8/8, and it's the same as the other one except the ability is Death Touch and it's in black. Coming up next, we have Umori the Collector. He's a 4 mana 4/5 legendary creature ooze with Companion, which is a sideboard thing. So if you have this card in the sideboard, it says if you can fulfill this condition, which says each non-lane card in your starting deck shares a card type, Then, if this card is your chosen companion from your sideboard, you may cast it once from outside the game, which is a really solid ability, but it's really hard to fulfill the costs. And then it's a 4/5, and it says when it enters, you choose a card type, and cards of that type you cast cost 1 less to cast. Really, really solid card, even on its own, without that extra companion ability. 4 mana, 4/5, that makes a certain card type cost 1 less. Really solid. Next up, we have Sprite Dragon. I reckon this has a lot of potential in, like, Is It Drake type decks. He's a 2 mana 1/1 flying haste, but then when it says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. In a deck like Is It Drake's or Arc like Phoenix with heaps of cantrips, or a Storm deck, this suddenly becomes huge. Super solid card. And it's only an uncommon. Coming up next, we have Vivian, Monster's Advocate. She's a 5 mana free loyalty legendary planeswalker Vivian, and it says you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast the creature spells from the top of your library, so kind of a Garruk's Horde type of effect. And then you can +1 her to get a free green beast creature token, and put your choice of a vigilance counter, a reach counter, or a trample counter on it. And then she has this -2, which is, when you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle the library. I reckon she's going to be super insane. The fact that you can just drop creature after creature off the top of your deck, that she can make free bodies with abilities, and she can search your library for cheap. Well, they're often going to be big, because you'll be casting 4 or 5 drop, and then you can search for a 4 or 3 drop. She's really solid planeswalker. I reckon she'll see a decent amount of play, especially in Commander. Next up, we have Iluna, Apex of Wishes. She's a 5 mana 6/6 legendary creature beast elemental dinosaur with flying and trample and mutate for 6. And then it says when this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card and put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. So this is essentially 5 mana 6/6 fly and trample, which is insane stats. But then if you mutate it, it then suddenly gets you essentially a cascade effect, except it can't cast non-creatures. But no, it just keeps going until you exile a non-land non-creature. So, yeah, really solid. If anything, better than Cascade, depending on the deck. Super solid card. Next up, we have Brokos, Apex of Forever. Now, this card is so good. It's 5 Sultai mana for a 6/6 trample. That's already a decent body, but for its hybrid cost, it's really average stats. But then it has mutate for 5, and he says you may cast it from your graveyard using its mutate ability. So you can just immediately turn all your creatures into 6/6 creatures with trample alongside all your other abilities, and when they die you can then turn another one. This is super solid. It might be a bit slow for formats like Standard, but I reckon in formats like Commander it's going to be insane. Coming up next, we have Voracious Great Shark. It's a 5 mana 5/4 flash. It's quite good. But then it says when it enters, you get a counter target artifact or creature spell. This card's super solid. It's essentially a frilled mystic that costs an additional mana and gets an additional 2/2, but can't cast counter instants or sorceries. It's a solid card. I reckon it will see maybe a bit of play in decks like Simic Flash and Standard here and there. And it's, good card. It will be a real bomb in draft. Like, I can just imagine drafting this format. There would just be so many bombs. Just like, if you had one of the bombs, there's just so many bombs. It would be like the bomb format. And also, I forgot to mention, guys, I'm not going to be going through all the just random common spoilers, because not too many people are interested in them. Like, not really anyone wants to see a spoiler video going through, like, cards like Voracious 4. Next up, we have Mythos of Nefroy. It's a 3 mana instant, and it says destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if green-white was spent to cast this. So this card's pretty good. It essentially says 3 mana for its current cost, destroy target creature, or absent mana to destroy target non-land permanent. It's a pretty solid card. Next up, we have General's Enforcer. It's a 2 mana 2/3 creature human soldier that says legendary humans you control have indestructible. Pretty good. It can give lots of your big legendary humans if you're running. Oh, I can't think of too many legendary humans, but things like Thalia, things like the human we saw earlier, I forgot his name. That's pretty good. And it has this nice 4 mana ability that can exile target card from a graveyard, nice graveyard hate, and if it's a creature you get a 1/1. This is a solid body. It will be great in draft. I don't really think it will see too much play in formats, just because it's not quite good enough to see play in things like Modern or Standard, but it's a solid card. Next up, we have Drain of Stinger. It's the only common I decided to put on this list. It's a 2-mana 2/2 with cycling for 1, which it says discard this card to draw a card, but then it says whenever you cycle another card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. I reckon this card, it's not too great. I reckon it will be amazing in draft, but it might actually make some viable cycling decks a thing in maybe Modern or Standard, some formats just for a bit of fun. Coming up next, we have Dranith Majesty. He's a 2-mana 1/3 human wizard, and it says your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking this is going to get banned in Commander, because this says none of your opponents can no longer cast their commanders. This, I don't think it's good enough to see play in places like Modern and Legacy or Vintage, because there isn't too much going on there. Maybe like a Living Death deck it would shut down, things like that. Living End, I think the name of the card is. I got those two always mixed up. But in Commander, this card's going to be so good. There's so many things that like Cascade and your commanders mainly, it just shuts them all down. Super solid. Coming up next, we have Lucca, Coppercoat Outcast. He's a 5-mana 5 loyalty, Legendary Planeswalker Lucca. And you +1 to exile the top 3 cards of your library, and you can cast creature spells exile this way, as long as Lucca remains on the field. You can -2 to exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature, and then you put it into play. This is really good. It can turn one of your little creatures into a massive thing. And as -7 says each creature you control deals damage to its power to target opponent. So this essentially just says if you have enough board state, you just immediately kill them. He's a solid planeswalker. He'll be great in draft and sealed. I reckon he'll see a bit of play in Standard, just in like one of those big hefty Gruul decks. It'd be a great top end. But he will be competing a lot with the new Vivian, because they're both so good planeswalkers. They are 5-drops, that's their only downside. Next up we have Skull Prophet. This card's so good for an uncommon. It's green and a black for a 3/1 that human druid that can tap for a green or a black. This is already really good. Plus you can tap it to put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. This is so good. It's like really good in any Golgari type of deck, graveyard based deck, because it can ramp you into things. It can be a good attacking body, 3/1, early and late game as well. And you can tap it to mill yourself if you're keeping it up for blocking and they don't decide to attack. Super solid card. Next up we have Dire Tactics. It's a 2-mana instant and it says exile target creature. That's insane, but then it says if you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. This doesn't really matter. This card's just 2-mana to exile stuff is just so good. And the fact that it's just a little bit of life you lose, and if you control a human, which is the most common creature type in all of Magic, it's just suddenly a 2-mana exile target creature. I reckon this card's going to see heaps of play. I would say it would see play in Modern Humans, but it's not going to just because all their lands tap for only creatures. But yeah, it's an insane card. And last but not least, we have Lutri, the Spell Chaser. This card's already been banned in Commander. Wizards are so scared of it being OP. It's a 3-mana 3/2 legendary creature elemental otter with flash. And then it says when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, which in 90% of the time you do, you may copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, and you may choose new targets for the copy. This card's busted. It's like, they did add that if you cast it thing to make it so it doesn't do the combos like Dual Caster Mage, but it is still super insane. A 3-mana 3/2 with flash that copies a instant or sorcery is just like a strictly better Dual Caster Mage, plus it's hybrid mana, plus it has an extra power. And it has Companion, which says if each non-land card in your game has a different name, you may cast it once from your game from the sideboard, which is really good. But I'd say 90% of the time decks aren't going to have this, just because only having your deck in one-ofs is not very good. I think that's why it got banned in Commander. But even then, I don't really see why, because I don't think Commanders have sideboards, do they? So this isn't really of that much of a threat there. It's a really solid card, but I don't really see the need for them to ban it. Although it might cause a bit of arguing between like play groups. Like he's like, can I play the sideboard please? And everyone's like, alright. And then he brings out that and people get really angry. And yeah guys, that completes the video. Hope you guys are just as hyped for these spoilers as me, and hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, peace out.